Paul Niyama, professionallystrong.com, and I want to help you become the best and strongest version of yourself. And today, I'm addressing a question that I get asked from time to time, and that is, how much does genetics play a role in getting in shape and working out? And the long and short of it is that your genetics do play a role in how easy or difficult it is for you to get in shape, but they are not an excuse if you want to be lazy just because you're not someone that it didn't end up winning the genetic lottery. You know, a lot of people end up using their genetics as a scapegoat for any results they aren't getting, but unless you're someone that is going for the elite of the elite level, your genetics probably are not holding you back. The things that you end up doing or not doing are going to be way more important than your genetics. Now, it is true that there are some things that are outside of your control that are predetermined before you were even born. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some of these things, but I'm also going to talk about the things that you can control, because I think these things are way more important than your genetics. And remember, if you do the right things with these things that you can control, you'll see the best and strongest version of yourself. So let's get into the meat of the video and talk about the things that are predetermined by your genetics. Number one is where your body stores and burns fat. Now, this is one of the most common things that people want to change, but ultimately it is outside of your control. Where your body stores fat first and where it burns fat first is largely determined by genetics. Now, there's some people that store fat and burn fat throughout their entire body evenly, and others that store more fat in certain areas first, and when they try to burn fat, they'll burn fat in certain areas first. And you know, there's some people that are really blessed with great genetics. They don't store much fat in areas that people don't want to be fat, like the abs. Yes, there are people that can eat like crap and still have a six-pack, but those are the outliers. And then there's some people that don't have as much advantageous genetics, and every food they eat goes right to their gut. And, you know, those are outliers too. Most people are going to fall somewhere in the middle. Now, for years, I have told my clients that if you want to know where you are going to burn fat first and store fat first, look at your parents, look at your grandparents, see where they store and burn fat, and that's probably where you are going to as well. And this leads me to one of the biggest misconceptions about fat loss, and that is spot reduction. There is no such thing as spot reduction. If you haven't heard this term before, basically it means that to reduce fat in a certain spot, but the body doesn't work like that. You cannot control where your body is going to burn fat. But, you know, a lot of people don't know this because commercials say the opposite. So a lot of times when people want to get that six-pack, they do a lot of crunches and ab work. And while the ab work will build the muscles in the area, it's not going to burn fat specifically in your abs. The body just doesn't work like that. So you can work muscles in certain areas though, but you just can't control where you burn fat. You can only control how much fat you burn. Yes. How much fat you have on your body is up to you, and burning fat comes down to the same three things that I'm always talking about: your nutrition, your workouts, and your consistency. And even though you may not lose fat in the area that you want to at first, if you keep going, you keep burning fat, you keep making the right decision, eventually you'll burn fat in the area that you want, because at some point, your body only has a certain amount of fat that it could burn, and it's going to have to come from somewhere. Number two is your bone structure. Now, if you're an adult, then your bones are pretty much the length that they are, unless they invent some kind of crazy Gattaca type stuff. There's no real way to change them. And why is this even important? Well, if you look at the width of your shoulders, the width of your hips, the length of your bone, it's all tied into your bone structure, and you're not going to change your skeletal framework. So what will your bone structure affect? Well, the length of your bones could affect a bunch of stuff, could really affect your aesthetics though. If you want that V-tapered look, it's really going to help to have a longer clavicle bone, which makes your shoulders wider, and a narrow pelvis, which makes your waist smaller. It's a good thing. Well, longer bones, though, also means that it takes longer for your muscles to appear bigger, since it's going to take more muscle to fill out that larger surface area. But the flip side is that it will also work the same way with fat. So it's going to take longer and more fat to accumulate in that larger area, and it's going to take a lot longer for you to appear a lot fatter. Your strength is also affected by your bone structure. Longer bone structure means a longer lever arm, which means that it takes more force to move that longer lever arm. Now, if you have longer arms and longer legs, then you'll need to generate more force to move the same amount of weight as someone that has shorter arms and shorter legs. So longer, shorter bones, they each have certain advantages and disadvantages. And, what you have is pretty much what you're going to have to work with. Now, just keep in mind that you might not be able to change your bone structure at all, but you can change what is on these bones. You could build muscle, get bigger in certain areas. You could lose fat and look smaller in certain areas. That part is all up to you. And just like everything, you get out what you put in. Number 3 is the origin and insertion of your muscles. So most people probably aren't aware of what this even means. So let me break it down for you just a little bit. So your muscles, they're connected to your bones with tendons. And where these tendons are connected can give you a mechanical advantage or disadvantage, which makes it harder or easier to lift a certain amount of weight. And this means that some people, they're going to be stronger or weaker, not just because of their bone length or their muscle strength or their muscle size, but because of certain leverages in their joints that's dictated by where these muscles and tendons connect to your bones. So if you look at these 2 examples right there of a bicep muscle, you can see one inserts a little closer to the elbow, which is the fulcrum of this joint, and the other inserts a little further away from that elbow. Now, the further away the tendon attaches from the fulcrum, the more biomechanical advantage there's going to be. And this means that your muscles will need to generate less force in order to lift the same amount of weight. And if your muscle inserts closer to your fulcrum, these muscles will need to generate more force in order to lift that same amount of weight. So what does this all mean? Well, some people, they're just going to have an easier time lifting heavier weights based on something totally outside of their control. But for most, it shouldn't even matter because you can still get strong even if you don't have the best genetics for strength. You're just going to have to put in a little more time and a little more work than someone that has a more advantageous leverage in their body. Number 4 is the length of your tendons and muscle bellies. So what does this mean? Let me explain this because the result of this has more to do with aesthetics than anything else. Some people, they're going to have longer tendons and shorter muscle bellies, like in this example right there. And other people, they're going to have shorter tendons with longer muscle bellies, like in this picture right there. Now, strength, it's going to be affected somewhat because a larger muscle is going to be more capable of generating more force, but like I said, this is going to have more to do with looks than anything else, and there's going to be certain advantages and disadvantages to each of them in regards to look. So a longer muscle belly, it's going to have a more full appearance, while the shorter muscle belly is going to be able to develop more of a peak. Which one is better? It's really subjective and more of a matter of personal preference than anything else. But regardless of the length of your tendons and muscle bellies, you can still work out, you can still build your muscle, you can still burn fat, you can still get strong, and you can still look good. And like everything else that you can't change, whether you're happy with your genetics or not, it's really about making the most of what you have, because ultimately it's going to come down to creating the best version of yourself. And number 5 is the body's response to training and good nutrition. Now, this subject, it could get pretty in-depth, pretty complicated. I'm just going to try to keep it real simple and touch on some of the main points here. Because like most things, there are just some people that respond better to training than others. And I know you know those people. They hardly ever work out, but they're always in great shape. And then on the flip side, you probably know someone, maybe you are that person, puts in a ton of effort and just gets very minimal results. Same thing goes for nutrition though. You probably know that person that just eats like crap, eats whatever they want, and they're ripped. And then you all probably also know that person that no matter how much they track their calories, no matter how much on point they are with their nutrition, it's just a struggle for them to get a lot of results. Why is this? Well, there are genetic differences that determine how our body react to different stimulus. And some of the factors that affect this may include the type of muscle fibers that your muscle is made of, the amount of muscle fibers that you have, the hormones that may be more or less prevalent in your body. There's a bunch of different things, but that is why there's no one cookie cutter program that works for everybody. Even the best workout program or nutrition plan is going to have some outliers that just don't respond well to it, and then others, they're just going to respond to every single thing they do. So finding the best program for you might require some trial and error. But some people, they're going to respond better to high reps, some better to low reps, more volume, less volume. Nutrition, it's the same way. Some do better with low carb, some are going to do better with low fat, some are going to respond more to a balanced diet. And the best way to see what works for you is to experiment and see what type of program is going to get you the best results. But remember, you need to follow programs consistently for at least 3 to 6 months in order to gauge how well your body is reacting to it. And of course, you need to follow that program and not have any cheat days or skip days or anything like that, because constantly switching programs too early without putting in that effort, it's a common mistake that a lot of people end up making. Most people have one style of workout or one program that they want to follow, that they enjoy the most, and hopefully this is the one that they enjoy the best. But if not, and that's you need to make a decision if you want to do the program that you enjoy the most or the program that gives you the best results, the results that you actually want. And like I said, this topic can get very complicated, but I just want to touch on some of the main points more than some of the things that I want to do in this video. There's going to be some people that need to work out a lot harder than others. And if that is you, don't get discouraged, because everyone, and I mean everyone, has the potential to look great, feel great, and it's more related to your effort and consistency than your genes. So wrapping up, yes, genetics does make a difference in your ability to get in shape, but any perceived genetic limitation shouldn't be used as an excuse to not become the best version of yourself. It's about your attitude, your consistency, your determination. These things are going to be much larger factors in whether or not you become the best and strongest version of yourself. It's not just genetics. Now, if you want the PDF notes for this video, make sure you click on the link in the description. Check out the site professionallystrong.com. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel because there are more videos coming. Of course, share this with all your friends. Check out Professionally Strong on Instagram for daily motivation, daily tips. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time with another video to help you become the best and strongest version of yourself.